The day before our engagement, my boyfriend accompanied his first love, Lucy, to meet her parents. Nora? He saw me, his eyes filled with panic. However, he quickly regained his composure and questioned me, "What are you doing here?" I sneered, "Just passing by, you two carry on." Lucy's mother smiled and inquired, "Jason, who is this?" "A friend," he replied. After leaving the cafe, I wandered aimlessly along the street. Jason did not follow me or even send an explanatory message, until the overcast sky and muffled thunder brought me back to reality, prompting me to take a taxi home. I gave a bitter smile, realizing that tomorrow was meant to be our engagement day, yet Jason had taken his first love, Lucy, to meet her parents, confirming his inability to let her go. Upon returning home, I collapsed onto the bed, burying my face in the pillow. On the bedside table rested the engagement ring intended for tomorrow, embedded with a small diamond. I preferred diamond rings, but Jason had argued they were not a good investment and urged me to buy a gold one. Now, he had purchased a diamond ring himself, inscribed with loveu inside, yet I could not cry, my mind haunted by the image of Jason embracing Lucy with a mocking gaze directed at me. Lucy was Jason's childhood friend and his first love. I frequently argued with him over her presence, but he always insisted they had grown up together like siblings and that I was overthinking it. "If there were anything between me and Lucy, where would that leave you?" he would say each time, intensifying my growing sense that I was merely a substitute for her. During our most heated argument, Jason berated me for having impure thoughts, questioning why there couldn't be a platonic friendship between a man and a woman. He stormed out, slamming the door, and we remained in a cold war for over a month. This time, however, I had no desire to argue. I had come to terms with my position and abandoned all illusions, unable to sleep in bed, so I went to the balcony and retrieved several bottles of beer from the fridge. Without turning on the lights, I sat on the balcony, sipping cold beer cup after cup under the neighborhood's glow. After an indeterminate time, the children playing below had all gone home, leaving no one in sight, save for the occasional stray cats scavenging in the trash, until Jason returned. Before I saw him, I heard Lucy's voice, "Jason, does your place even look like a woman lives here? It's a mess, and there's a strange smell." I sat silently by the small table on the balcony. In all the years with Jason, he never lifted a finger for chores, let alone cleaning, leaving all household tasks, grocery shopping, and cooking to me. When he turned on the light and spotted me on the balcony, his tone was frigid. "Not turning on the lights at home? Are you trying to scare someone to death?" Lucy smiled at me and said, "Nora, I hope I'm not disturbing you too," then turned to Jason with a feigned pout, "Don't talk to Nora like that, be gentle with girls." Unable to resist her, Jason's expression softened. "Nora, about today, I was worried you'd misunderstand, so I asked Lucy to come explain to you in person." Lucy smiled sweetly, taking my hand. "Yes, Nora, my parents are pushing me to find someone, and I wanted to brush them off. They'd suspect a random man, but since Jason and I grew up together, they trust him, so I asked him for this favor." Blinking her beautiful eyes with utmost innocence, she made it seem that any harsh words from me would be my fault. "Nora, you don't mind, do you?" Jason added, "Nora, Lucy has sincerely explained, don't be upset anymore." I remained silent, but Jason began defending Lucy, prompting me to fling her hand away in a surge of anger. "I'm not upset. I should thank her for taking my boyfriend to meet her parents." Lucy's smile froze, while Jason grew angry. "We're childhood friends, what's wrong with me helping her as a brother?" I retorted, "Brother? It looks like you want to be her boyfriend meeting her parents today, and marriage is next." Jason, visibly impatient but likely restraining himself due to Lucy's presence, said, "Don't make it sound so sordid. I've told you countless times, Lucy is just my sister." Lucy interjected, "Nora, don't be mad. It was my idea. If you want to hit or scold someone, target me, not Jason." "Me, sordid? Taking it out on him?" Watching their coordinated act fueled my rage. Jason, assuming I'd calmed down since I stayed quiet, patted my shoulder lightly, apologized to Lucy, "And this will be over." I shoved Jason away, my eyes welling up. Apologize? Why should I apologize to a woman who's entangled with my boyfriend? She's the one who should apologize to me. Jason exploded. Nora, you're slandering a girl's honor, have some shame. I order you to apologize to Lucy. Lucy stepped between us, playing peacemaker. Jason, don't fight with Nora over me. I'd feel so guilty. I'm sorry. The air was thick with pretense, but cold water cannot steep green tea, and Jason's fervor was undeniable. Recalling how he had consistently shielded Lucy over the years, my heart turned utterly cold. Nora, can't you be reasonable? Forcing Lucy to apologize, don't go too far. Jason continued, I order you to apologize to her now, or we're done. Jason pointed at my nose, fuming. In the past, I would have swallowed my pride, apologized to Lucy, and mourned alone, but now I refuse to endure it. Then let's break up, I said, turning back to my room. I heard Lucy's voice from outside, dripping with grievance. Jason, don't be rash. You and Nora were fine. Breaking up over me would make me so sad. How could it be your fault? Don't overthink it, she's just petty, Jason said, nearly grinding his teeth when mentioning me. Humph, let her cool off overnight. By morning, she'll beg to reconcile. I'll take you home. Soon after, I heard the door close. My heart settled into complete calm, but I wouldn't plead for reconciliation as Jason predicted. The university version of me might have, but time reveals true character, and I had matured. At university, Jason was the student council president, handsome and academically outstanding. I was one of many girls infatuated with him, working under him in the council, where we grew acquainted. During a social event, Jason got drunk and vomited on me, yet I cared for him without complaint. Sobering up, he apologized and bought me a new dress as compensation, my first gift from him, which thrilled me so much that I impulsively confessed my feelings. Unexpectedly, Jason agreed and embraced me gently. In that moment, I felt like the happiest person alive. But now everything had changed. Jason no longer smiled at me as he once did, his focus shifting entirely away from me since Lucy's return. I removed the engagement ring from my finger and placed it back in its box. Having resolved to leave the past behind, I should also relinquish what tethered me, so I returned home alone that night. That night, I threw myself into my mother's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. She comforted me by patting my back as if I were a baby, while my father, frowning, sent messages and made calls to cancel the engagement banquet. Neither asked questions, standing by me unconditionally. I slept soundly at home. No one messaged me except my best friend, who didn't pry but simply assured me she'd be there anytime I felt down. Without waiting for her, I promptly bought a plane ticket to her city, staying there for a week. Jason sent no messages, likely assuming I was sulking, as we'd had cold wars before. Previously, I'd always been the one unable to hold back, initiating reconciliation. Jason surely thought I'd foolishly apologize again, allowing him to parade me before Lucy and crush my dignity. This was the first time I didn't reach out, and I doubted I ever would again. I had retreated and endured too often in the past, loving him deeply and always being the first to yield after our fights. He seemed to relish keeping me under his thumb. My best friend had warned me that I was acting like a simp. I'd laugh naively, saying, "You don't know how good Jason is to me. Our love is mutual." In hindsight, I was utterly blind and foolish. After enjoying myself, I landed to find several missed calls and over a dozen messages on my phone, all from Jason. I ignored them, only to find him at my door when I got home. Upon seeing me, Jason erupted, treating the place like his own. "Nora, you've been gone so long. Do you even care about this home anymore? Did you consult me before canceling the engagement banquet? Do you know how humiliating it was when relatives came to my house?" The latter part mattered most. I had embarrassed him. I sneered. "The engagement banquet? Let Lucy take my place. She'd probably be eager to help." Jason froze, caught off guard by my words. "Can't you stop being so unreasonable? Lucy and I are innocent," he protested. "I don't care anymore, Jason. Whatever's between you and Lucy is no longer my concern." In those days, I hadn't entirely stopped hoping for a call from Jason, but he never reached out. Meanwhile, Lucy's Facebook updated frequently with photos of them at bars, her leaning ambiguously against him, beaming with joy. She ensured I'd recognize Jason by deliberately revealing the birthmark on his left wrist. They were having such fun, why couldn't I do the same? Yet Jason couldn't grasp this and lashed out, "Nora, have I been too good to you, making you so fearless? Your constant overthinking disrupts my bond with Lucy. How can a girl be so vile? Nora, don't think being my girlfriend lets you insult Lucy. Apologize, or I'll end it." His repeated mentions of Lucy nauseated me. Expressionless, I said coldly, "I won't apologize, let's break up." Stunned, Jason hadn't anticipated my resolve. I opened the door, ushering him out. "Wait, Nora, what do you mean? Can't you understand plain words? I said you and I, Nora and Jason, are over." His arrogance vanished as panic visibly overtook him. "Nora, are you really mad?" His faintly appeasing look sickened me. "Where was this before? I've told you, Lucy's like my sister. If she needs help and I don't go, wouldn't that be too callous? You're overthinking it. It was just pretending to be her boyfriend, not real. Can't you be more generous?" "Not generous? How much more generous can I be? Since Lucy returned, you've prioritized her, even meeting her parents the day before our engagement. Who really ruined the engagement banquet? You know the truth." Unable to hold back, I roared at Jason, my voice startling my parents, who emerged from their room with changed expressions upon seeing him. "Get out, you're not welcome here," my father said grimly, while my mother patted my shoulder to soothe me. Jason paled instantly, stammering as he tried to placate my parents. "Uncle, Auntie, what's this about?" "Nora and I are just having a minor spat," he said. "Nora, I'll apologize, okay? Let's move past this and live well together." I rolled my eyes. When I needed an apology most, Jason was with Lucy at a bar. What use was it now? "No need, please leave my home, we're already broken up." Jason was dumbfounded, unprepared for my steadfastness. I'd always been the one begging to reconcile, with him condescendingly granting it, treating me like a pet who'd return for a toy. Now, I was no tame kitten, and if the tiger doesn't roar, does he think I'm weak? "Nora, with Uncle and Auntie here, don't make a scene, let's go home and talk, okay?" As Jason reached for my hand, my father stepped between us. "Jason, you hurt my daughter first, leave now, or I'll call the police." Jason's face shifted instantly, his eyes darting between me and my parents. "Uncle, Auntie, it's just a small issue between Nora and me. Perhaps you elders shouldn't get involved in young people's matters." I could bear it no longer. Good manners were wasted on such shamelessness. "Jason, have some shame. A small issue? How would you feel if I brought a man home to meet my parents? My family arranged the engagement banquet, and the day before, you were with Lucy's parents. My 50-year-old father had to humbly call everyone to cancel. Did you ever consider us?" Jason was stunned, stammering incoherently. After a pause, he hastily offered an excuse. You should have told me about canceling the banquet. We could have figured it out together." So it was all my fault. Jason never reflected, only deflected. "You know, I'm swamped with work. I even forgot which day the banquet was." Busy with work? Yet he found time to meet Lucy's parents. He never valued me, suppressing what I liked and embracing what I despised. Lucy studied abroad for 4 years, and on her return, he was ecstatic, cooking a lavish feast of her favorite dishes at home. In all our time together, he never cooked for me. He fulfilled Lucy's desires but stifled mine. Now I realized I'd been profoundly manipulated by Jason. My father expelled him from our home. In my 20s, I couldn't keep living at home under my parents' care. After finding a new place, I returned to pack my clothes. Inserting the key to find the lock unchanged, I sneered. Opening the door, I saw Jason tidying up, both surprised and delighted. "You're back, Nora?" The house had transformed significantly, finally reflecting my tastes. I loved plants, and the once bare balcony now brimmed with greenery. I preferred fabric sofas, and Jason had replaced the wooden one. Everything matched my initial vision. but Jason himself had changed. When I'd suggested this setup, Jason claimed plants attracted bugs and were hard to maintain, yet in our years together, I alone handled the cleaning. He never lifted a finger, not because it was troublesome, but because he couldn't stand my happiness. Hungry? I'll cook for you now. I remember you like stir-fried beef, right? He thought this would move me now. In the past, I'd have wept with emotion at him cooking for me, thinking no rift was irreparable, but now, my heart was still, focused only on packing and moving. Jason had just donned his apron when his phone rang. What's wrong? Don't cry, I'll be right there. His urgency confirmed it was Lucy calling. Dropping the spatula, Jason seemed to seek my approval. Nora, Lucy's been hit by a car. Go quickly. If something serious happens to her, it'd be bad. Surprised by my swift consent, Jason shed his apron and hugged me. Nora, wait for me, I'll handle this and be back soon for a candlelight dinner. I frowned as he left. His embrace not only pained my heart but also stirred slight revulsion. The fridge held plenty of ingredients I loved: braised eggplant, stir-fried beef, mapo tofu, all spicy. I enjoyed spicy food, but since Jason disliked it, I hadn't eaten it in ages. If only he'd cooked these for me back then. He clearly knew how to cook. When Lucy returned, he prepared 7 dishes and a soup, still vivid in my memory. Sadly, it wasn't for me, and I'd never received such efforts from him, but so what? I no longer cared. Alone, I prepared 4 dishes and a soup, our final meal, a parting feast for Jason and me. After all these years, parting amicably would preserve some dignity, but the food cooled and nearly spoiled, and Jason still didn't return. At dawn, having packed everything, I opened the door to find Jason bustling in the kitchen. Yesterday's dishes weren't refrigerated and spoiled, so I tossed them. Come eat breakfast. I stared blankly, feeling as if from another lifetime. While living together, I'd fantasized countless times about Jason making me breakfast, but it was always me. Even then, he'd refuse to eat, complaining it was bad or too repetitive. One day, he dashed out without breakfast. Soon after, I saw Lucy's Facebook: 2 heart-decorated cappuccinos and desserts on the table. Lucy ensured I'd know it was Jason treating her, deliberately showing his wrist in the photo. Indeed, spoiled things should be discarded. Rotted relationships, too, must be severed promptly. I didn't touch the breakfast, timing my best friend's arrival. Jason opened the door, puzzled yet smiling. Isn't this Selena? Here for Nora? Had breakfast? Come in. His warmth was uncharacteristic. Since when did he respect my friends? Selena ignored him, nodding politely before turning to me. Babe, packed yet? Security won't let us linger. Let's go. Jason asked. Packing what? Nora, where are you going? Bewildered and seeing the 2 suitcases behind me, Jason panicked further. This isn't my home, I'm moving out. Goodbye. I handed one suitcase to my friend and pulled the other. Jason grabbed my hand, eyes brimming with confusion. Why move out for no reason? Look, I got you the succulents you like. Pointing to the balcony, he tried to pull me over. I shook him off, asking my friend to take the suitcase downstairs first. After she left, Jason blocked my path. What's wrong? Why move out? Still mad about last time or last night? I had no choice. Yesterday Lucy was hit by an electric bike and couldn't even register herself. I couldn't leave her alone at the hospital, could I? Besides, I asked you, and you agreed I could go, didn't you? Jason always had endless excuses for Lucy. He was helpless. For me, he expected endurance. Could I endure? Not anymore. I was fed up. Jason, don't be shameless. I want to part amicably, but you're forcing me to curse you? I pushed him aside and reached the entrance, but Jason rushed to block the door. If you want a temporary split, fine, but I won't allow a breakup. His eyes reddened. I'd never seen him so unhinged. Would he cry for me? But who cared now? Breaking up is my right. You don't get to forbid it. Who are you? Jason, I endured because I loved you before. Now, I don't. I didn't want to rehash Lucy. He'd just say I was overthinking nor point out his faults. He'd only deflect, promising to change next time, but he couldn't. I'd given him countless chances. No. How can this be? Jason lost control, shouting with red eyes, tears imminent. He gripped my shoulders, staring in disbelief. You're joking, right? Frowning, I looked at him coldly. You're hurting me, Jason. He released me abruptly, standing like a startled pup, face full of disbelief. I stepped past him, dragging my suitcase. He chased after, shouting my name. Didn't you say you'd love me forever? Does that mean nothing now? You also promised we'd get engaged, yet you went to meet Lucy's parents. The elevator arrived, and I left expressionlessly. Jason didn't follow further. My friend waited downstairs, stowing the suitcase in the trunk as I climbed into her Porsche. As we drove out of the complex, I didn't glance back once. Soothing music played in her car. Gazing out the window, I couldn't hold back tears, not for the breakup, but for my liberation. After years of Jason's unconscious mental control, I could finally embrace my new life openly. I resigned from my job, and my friend took a week off to stay with me. After so many years with Jason, parting without some inner turmoil was impossible. I couldn't define my feelings, a mix of relief and breakup sorrow. She ordered heaps of my favorite Sichuan dishes. With Jason, even hot pot outings meant tomato broth. He found spice irritating, insisting on a separate pot if I chose a split one. In all those years, I couldn't even freely pick a dual flavor pot. She brought beers, urging me to indulge. As we ate and watched movies, her face darkened while scrolling her phone. Damn, Jason's shameless. You leave, and he runs to Lucy, pretending to be devoted? I didn't care to look. Jason could marry Lucy now, and it wouldn't matter to me. Seeing my indifference, she dropped it, shifting topics. What about work? You can't go back to the old place. It's too close to Jason's company. Several headhunters have reached out recently. Don't worry. Reflecting on my old job, I felt regret. I'd planned to work in Jinghai with her better pay and prospects, but for Jason, I stayed in this small city, taking a mediocre job near his company. Living together, Jason took everything for granted: rent, utilities, gas, all on me. He claimed no cooking meant no gas fees, but did he ever consider who made the warm meals he came home to? Thus, once I quit, multiple headhunters contacted me. I scheduled an interview with my top choice. Passing the first round swiftly, 3 of us advanced to the second, which HR said the general manager would conduct personally. Passing the second round meant signing a contract and starting the next day. I was confident with my solid education and experience. Last in line for the interview, I thought I'd lost when the previous candidate exited smiling. Entering the meeting room, I was speechless with shock. Ethan? He was equally surprised, rising to greet me. Senior? It's you? HR didn't mention this. Sitting down, Ethan poured me tea, shedding his earlier CEO aura for a puppy-like demeanor. Don't you check resumes? I teased. HR handled it. Said there were 3 good candidates for me to interview personally. I was just napping when they dragged me here. Poor me. Lifting his foot, I noticed his suit top paired with slippers. I laughed, calling him as amusing as ever. No more questions at you then. I trust you, senior. Manager Ethan, no favoritism. What if I'm not as good as the others? Nonsense. Your education outshines theirs, that alone suffices. Plus, your student council excellence, I saw it firsthand. You're perfect for the executive assistant role. Relieved, I left to sign with HR, smiling, ready for a new life. Ethan was a junior I met at university, though in different departments. We only collaborated during major school events, otherwise keeping to ourselves. Years after graduation, I hadn't expected Ethan to remember me. I told no one we knew each other, focusing diligently on my duties. Ethan was a different person at work, strict and stern-faced. Last month, he made a new intern cry. Too proud to console her, he bought milk tea for the company, leading to jokes if scolded again. Don't hold back tears, and the GM will treat us to cake. Unlike my previous firm, the office vibe was great. Young staff didn't bully newcomers based on seniority, and they didn't hassle me, the new assistant. At my old job, working with the GM a few times sparked lewd rumors. I told Jason, but instead of support, he blamed me. Can't you see what you did wrong? Why only you? Classic victim blaming. Back then, I was so controlled I internalized guilt, avoiding eye contact at work. Post Jason, I dove into my job one day. Ethan asked me to join him on a Hainan branch trip with 2 colleagues, and I agreed eagerly, seeing it as a chance to shine as an assistant. Ethan scheduled ample time, arriving in Sanya a day early, new to the seaside. I felt lost, just off the plane. Rest up, tomorrow's busy. Ethan handed me an opened coconut, its juice sweet and refreshing. That night, whether from climate or diet, I got diarrhea. Delegating work to colleagues as Ethan took me to the hospital. The doctor said too much cold and spicy food upset my stomach. Rare for you to slip up like this, senior, he said. I'm not superhuman, I replied with a wry smile, and stop calling me senior, just use my name. After pondering, he asked tentatively, can I call you Nora? I nodded. Everyone at work did, interns included, adding sister. While on N4, my phone rang. An unknown number I dismissed as spam. Hanging up, it rang again, and with a bad feeling, I answered, Nora, I'm in Sanya, lost my ID, I'll be on the streets tonight. I didn't buy Jason's story. How did he know I was in Sanya? Believe me, it's true, I lost it leaving the hot pot place, the same one I'd been to. Was he stalking me? Can't you replace it? I can't help, I said. Police stations are closed now. I had no choice but to call you. Nora, please help, he pleaded. I sighed. 7 years together, I couldn't let him sleep on the streets. With only a few drops left in the 4, I stopped it, got Jason's location, and headed out. Ethan drove me silently, stopping at the hot pot place. Jason, thinking I'd taken a cab, rushed to hug me. I pushed him away firmly, frowning in distress. Ethan stepped out, observing us thoughtfully, but Jason confronted first. Nora, who's he? I'm Nora's boyfriend. Who are you? Ethan's reply stunned me, leaving Jason incredulous. Then Lucy appeared, holding toiletries. Nora, what's this? Jason searched for you so long you avoided him, and now a new lover? You're really letting him down. Before Jason could berate me, Lucy jumped in. I glared at her, coldly smug beneath her innocent act. Nora, it's not true, right? You hired someone to play this part? As Jason moved to grab me, Ethan stepped between us. Sir, whatever you had with Nora before, she's my girlfriend now, show some respect. Lucy couldn't stay quiet, sniping at Ethan. Jason's done so much for Nora. What do you, an outsider, know? Not content, she turned to Jason, holding his hand. See, Jason? I told you Nora's cunning, never cared for you, you've been so good, and she's ungrateful, heartless. Jason yanked his hand free, roaring at her, shut up. I'd never seen him like this. He'd never yell at Lucy, always cherishing her while trampling me. She stood stunned, tears falling. Ethan pulled me into his arms timely, chin raised. This is my boyfriend. I met Jason's gaze firmly. He looked thunderstruck, eyes red, glaring at Ethan with gritted teeth, yet facing me with reluctance. Ethan led me to the car. I didn't care about Jason anymore, heading straight to the hotel. If you minded what I did, I'm sorry. I shook my head quickly. Not only did I not mind, Ethan had helped immensely. Without him stepping up, I couldn't predict Jason's actions. Ethan sighed. Was that Jason? I thought you two matched well in college. If he's here to reconcile, why bring another woman with such a foul mouth like he ate dung? His words amused me, calming my turmoil. That night, I took medicine, rested well, and met head office staff the next day. Engrossed in work, I blocked all Jason's contacts, including that unknown number. Back home, I immersed myself in work. Maybe that day's blow was too great. Jason vanished from my world, having lost too much time to him. My goal now was to work hard and earn money. Ethan valued me highly. After excelling at the branch, he let me make decisions knowing he'd rise to director. He aimed to groom me as the next manager, so I worked tirelessly, often late into the night. At last, a short break came. Missing home, I called my mom, telling her not to buy groceries I'd cook. Unexpectedly, opening the door, I found Jason and his parents in the living room. Nora's back? Jason, help her with her things, his mom greeted warmly. directing him. His eagerness repulsed me. Where was this before? Frowning, I didn't hand him anything, walking past to the kitchen. Mom, what's this? She whispered, embarrassed. They insisted on coming. I couldn't just turn them away. Your dad's not home yet. Jason knew Mom was soft-hearted, a trait I'd inherited, but I'd changed. I could be lenient with anyone except him. Uncle, Auntie, it's tough coming so far, but Jason and I are over. His mom, shocked, grabbed my hand. What's this? You and Jason were together so long, how can you just split? Couples have minor spats. His dad and I argue daily, yet we're fine, she said. Any issues, with us parents here, sort it out and live well. I laughed. Could this be discussed? Did she know about Jason's sister? Jason dropped to his knees, startling us, tears streaming. He nearly kowtowed. Nora, I was wrong. Can't we talk it out? I can't live without you. A home isn't home without you. Come back. Looking down, I said coldly, fine, swear you'll never contact Lucy again, and I'll consider it. His sudden silence killed me. He couldn't let her go. If he couldn't release his first love, why entangle me? Wanting both was his fault, wasn't it? Mom, unable to watch, told him to stand. Jason, ever opportunistic, shouted like a tantruming child, I won't unless Nora forgives me. Kneel at the complex gate, then don't disrupt my family. I yelled, shoving him out. Won't leave? I'll cut myself. Get out. His parents rushed to stop me as I held a fruit knife to my hand. Only he could lose it. Couldn't I? Finally ejecting everyone, I sighed in relief, seeing Mom's worried gaze. I set the knife down. Mom, I'm fine. I just wanted to discuss them. Jason going nuts here. How could we eat if I didn't kick him out? Mom relaxed, massaging her shoulders. I cooed, Mom, I got Christian carp. Want fish soup tonight? She smiled softly, agreeing repeatedly. Helping Mom cook, Dad called. He'd forgotten his keys, asking me to let him in. What's Jason doing, kneeling downstairs? Scared me. I took the back way. I smiled, shaking my head. Ignore him. Our family dinner matters most. From the balcony, I saw Jason kneeling below. Who cared? A self-absorbed fool. His explanations when I no longer needed them were pathetically weak. I'd long stopped caring. As dinner finished, a call came. Senior, you've worked so hard lately. I'd like to treat you to a meal. Where are you? Gazing at the laden table, I smiled into the phone. Come to my place today. Taste your senior's cooking first.